Following on from Oxford's tour of Auckland, the Waikato and the Series 1 run in Whanganui, Oxford was transferred across the North Island to the East Coast to go on display at the Land-Rover dealership Bayswater European in Napier. Bayswater Europeans sponsor and support the Hereworth four-wheel drive safari, and is a great opportunity to introduce Oxford to the Hawke's Bay four-wheel drive community. The Hereworth School is a private boys' school located just on the edge of Havelock North in the glorious Hawke's Bay. Every 2 years, the Hereworth Old Boys hold a fundraiser four-wheel drive safari for scholarships to attend the school. I have had the privilege of attending 2 of these events, and what separates these events from all others is the variety of the areas covered. Most four-wheel drive safaris remap the same trips, but mix it up by reversing the route or adding another small section to the drive, but not the Hereworth. Each Hereworth safari changed the district in which the safari is held. The previous event was held south of Hastings in the Toronui off State Highway 2. This year, the event was to be held north of Napier, near Lake Pt3, about halfway between Napier and Wairau on the east coast. Just north of Napier, the terrain changes dramatically and rises over a kilometre above sea level to form a coastal barrier. This steep, rugged country was a location chosen for the 2021 Hereworth Safari, and I was really looking forward to it, but that dick COVID came along and destroyed over 2 years of planning for the Hereworth Old Boys. The previous weekend, during the Land-Rover Series 1 trip in Wanganui, Auckland had gone into Level 3 lockdown and dragged the rest of the country into Level 2, which restricted gatherings of over 200 people, which dashed the hopes of the Hereworth team for holding their event and our hopes of giving Oxford a good look around the Hawke's Bay. With Mark Warren's normal glass half full attitude to life, along with Nick Stewart and Andrew Thomas from Toronui Station, these Land Rover enthusiasts concocted a plan to celebrate Oxford's time in Hawke's Bay and to run a small Land Rover gathering to follow part of the tracks planned for the Hereworth four-wheel drive safari. I booked a cheap, well, maybe not so cheap cabin on the outskirts of Napier at West Shore and met up with a mate across the road at the pub. For the observant viewer, you may have clicked onto the date, as at 2:27 on the 5th of March, the first of a series of 7.3 and 8.1 quakes hit the east coast, travelling up and down the Kermadec fault line, turning my little cabin into a roller coaster for a bit longer than just being interesting. Later that morning I met up with my drinking buddy Mike at the local cafe, and he said he had grabbed his grab bag and ran up Napier Hill, while Kev slept on in comfort down at sea level, blissfully unaware of any danger. Thank goodness for the Civil Defence local cell phone warning system. Oh wait, hold a minute, what happened? Anyway, no tsunami materialised, so as planned I met up with Mark Warren at Auto Class just outside Hastings to see Winston following his major makeover. Many years ago, Mark Warren purchased a 1954 Series 1 Land Rover that he called Jock, and Jock was used as a farm hack around Waipari Farm at Markery until Mark discovered that Jock had a close chassis number to the Series 1 Land Rover Winston Churchill was given for his 80th birthday on the 30th of November 1954, along with a number plate UKE 80. Since we were only 3 weeks out from the Oxford Land Rover rally in Wanaka, Rod Corbett and I were just about in daily contact sorting out the merchandise and registration process.
Okay, so how many vehicles are you going to have on this little exclusive little run this weekend?
I'm not sure, it sounds like about 6 Series 1s.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
fantastic.
so it should be good, yeah.
Oh, that'll be great. We just, I've got to race down and confirm all the stuff about the merchandise as well, which has worked out pretty well.
Yeah. The point of Oxford's trip is to share photos of a solo world tour, so the first stop for Napier was at the iconic Art Deco National Tobacco Company building at West Shore, Napier, where we met up with Nick Stewart driving Oxford. Since the day had got away from us, from West Shore we headed north up State Highway 2 to Pt3, before turning left and commencing the long climb into the hills to Toronui Station. We were able to grab a bed inside as opposed to pitching our tents on the front lawn.
It was where we were originally going to get the camp, somewhere up there on the left, but at the ground conditions.
At Toronui, we met up with Darcy Hamilton and Dennis Munro from Wairau in a 109 Series 1 flat deck that Darcy had restored. The Land-Rover was Dennis's father's. The Stewart group were located in another farmhouse further up the road. Unfortunately, with Oxford's hard leaf springs and 40 psi in the tyres, plus the logging trucks cutting massive corrugations in the road, the eggs didn't do so well. Good job Oxford doesn't have a carpeted load tray. I swear the exact second the sun hit the western ridge of the ranges high above us, the temperature just plummeted and the wind speed really picked up. It was then you realise the altitude we had reached, as we were sitting at 650 metres on the first exposed face of the North Island. Not exactly barbecue type conditions as we carried the beer and nibbles indoors to where our hosts, Andrew and Julia Thomas, had cooked up a spectacular roast meal for us all in true Hereworth style. That night I thought the front windows were about to explode into the room as the wind bashed into the side of the old farmhouse. I suggested that tomorrow may be interesting, but Chopper said nah, the wind always drops at dawn, and true to his word it did, albeit a tad after the frozen dawn had dragged the sun a bit higher into the sky. We all saddled up after an eye-watering country breakfast and headed up the farm tracks straight, and I mean seriously straight, up the side of the Mangahuru Ranges. First giggle track was a slight deviation alongside a perfectly good bridge. You're not in four-wheel drive, dude. I don't think it's four-wheel drive. Are the hubs in? You're not in... But the hubs aren't locked. The later Series 1 Land Rovers were not permanent four-wheel drive, so the drive heads on the wheel hubs have to be manually connected using a ring spanner. That's better. Driving a coil-sprung permanent four-wheel drive vehicle with mud tyres, I thought it would fly up the greasy slope, but ended up making a right cock of it. Perhaps a quieter approach might be the way to go. We worked our way up the ranges in a series of steps, stopping briefly at 1100 metres to admire our progress, with the chalky cliffs of the southern end of the Hawke's Bay in the distance. At the top of the Mangahururu range at 1308 metres, we can see west over the Napier Taupo Road, north to the Wairoa and the Urawera, and east over Napier to Cape Kidnappers. The next time Oxford will be at this altitude will be in about 4 weeks' time on the top of Mount Grandview near the centre of the South Island by Lake Hawke. Time for an intervention before something breaks. Might be a good time to let some pressure out of the tyres, I think. This is a great shot. It's probably just as hard for you to see as it was for me sitting in the driver's seat. But this is the station owner, Andrew Thomas, giving me directions so I don't drive off the side of a really narrow slab-top bridge in a typical farmer's understated way. Just the subtlest of finger gestures for me to avoid a major calamity and certain death. Most four-wheelers I know would be over the top, waving arms and pointing, but not Chopper. Just brilliant. Our lunch stop was a sheltered part of the track looking way down the coast over Napier. The track we followed back down the hill was further to the south in our ascent route and had been graded for the Hereworth trek, so the vehicles could compact the track as they came back down the hill. Now with the trek cancelled, they had a problem that the winter rains could wash the loose material down the hill. I think it was about this time that Darcy lost his brakes in his 1957 109 flat deck. Fortunately, the Land-Rover support vehicle was carrying extra brake fluid. This was amazing. We stopped off at a hydro generator installed by Trustpower, which utilised a massive freshwater spring that, with a bit of careful channeling and a header dam, was capable of adding a few megawatts to the national grid. Later that evening, while we were tucking into a few choice wines thanks to Aaron Drummond from Craggy Range, Oxford had gone out for a hunt and came back with a deer strapped to the bonnet. Things were getting serious today. Aaron Drummond from Craggy Range arrived last night with a couple of game changers, a really nice box of mixed red, and the latest from the Land-Rover stable, a 240 horsepower Land-Rover Defender. The morning was not looking very promising as we headed off up the hill, and I was concerned about the inappropriate footwear of the Defender. It was wearing low profile highway tyres at 45 psi, but it should make an interesting drive and a good demonstration of the advanced technology these vehicles have to not rely on chunky grip tyres, and with no disrespect to Aaron, driver ability, as I understand it was Aaron's first time in a low traction situation.
That's it.
Customer days were taken out.
picture is to be heard and understood.
Yeah.
There's a management.
So I can't see it yet. Oh, that's a nice shot. For Wednesday morning course, and that was actually a really good one. And I was dealing with difficult people and tricky situations. Nice one. Looks like we have a challenge ahead of us.
A few too many fine malts the previous night possibly contributed to Winston becoming cast on a lump of limestone, strategically placed to catch and bend the drag link on his steering.
Nice one. Stay out of the water. What's that? Stay there. Stay there? Just go over that right.
Not far, not that far left.
Not that far.
Mark was obviously not happy with Chopper's fingertip guidance and decided to intervene.
Straight, straight, move it that way. Yep, now keep it straight, Aaron, keep it straight, yep, keep it at that. Keep it gently. Yep. Yep, now you're right. And then come across this way a bit more, but across here. Yep, keep coming.
Very slow, yep.
Keep coming, yep, there you're right. Just a wee bit that way, don't go under there. Yep, there you're right. Run major down on the control work.
That's right.
Hawke hard.
Back at the water.
Oh yeah, right on top, but that's it, mate. Quite nice how you car little. Get the guys started. How exactly the treatment costs? No one can tell. Oh, casualty.
Pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Don gone ahead. Was Don gone ahead? So didn't think, is Don
Yeah, no,
gone
he
ahead?
went the other way.
The white paddock?
I think they went the easy way.
Yeah, they went the
So
easy
you
way.
last down that way?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just the arrogance. No one's gonna...
The house we stayed in is available for hire. It would make a great destination for a family getaway. Just contact Toronui Station at toronui.co.nz and click the accommodation page. It is very important to note that Toronui Station is a privately owned family farm. There's strictly no access to this property without prior arrangements, so the Oxford team is extremely grateful to be granted access for the purpose of publicising and documenting Oxford's New Zealand journey in the Hawke's Bay area. And this ends my journey with Oxford in the North Island of New Zealand. The next time we will meet will be at Rod Corbett's house in Wanaka in about 3 weeks' time. The next day, Oxford headed south to Armstrong Prestige in Wellington, where he was on display and attended a Land-Rover customer gathering at Boom Rock. From Wellington, Oxford was shipped across the Cook Strait and down to Christchurch. On the 20th of March, Oxford was driven to the town of Oxford by the Canterbury Land Rover Owners Club, and then on the 22nd of March, Oxford was delivered to Wanaka. We all said our goodbyes, and while everyone else headed east to State Highway 2, I was escorted out through the tradesman's entrance, which dropped me on the Napier Taupo Road and probably shaved an hour off my journey home. As chance would have it, I landed a few projects that needed to be cleared from my desk before I could join Oxford in Wanaka in a few weeks' time, so I needed to get home as soon as I can to unpack the Land Rover, water blast the mud off it, swap the mud tyres for road tyres, and load up the tools and PPE gear as I was working in Edgecombe, Ahope and Whakatane for the next 3 days. The following week I was back in the southern Hawke's Bay again, working in Waipukurau, Waipawa, Otani and Napier. Back home again to finish all the paperwork, and since I was leaving for Wanaka the following weekend, I thought it would be a good idea to give the Defender a service and take it on the next work trip to make sure everything was running well, as I intended to drive straight through to Wanaka from Auckland, a 2-day journey of 1500 kilometres, including a Cook Strait crossing. In Whakatane I went for a bike ride out to the river mouth and then drove the Defender off to get some food later that night and discovered the main light switch had melted, so I was driving only on the day running lights. This only left me Friday to finish more paperwork for the week, fix the lights on the Defender, pack and be ready to leave first thing Saturday morning, as I was on the Cook Strait ferry Saturday night. Remember how I said God laughs at men who make plans? Well, he must have busted a rib over my efforts, but needless to say I made the Cook Strait ferry and I was on my way to meet up with Oxford again, this time in Wanaka.